Though now closed for those who need to make preparations, especially on the western side of the island?
We're very close. Thanks for the question, JIS. We are very close to the closing of that window. I mean, I would not actually say it's entirely closed because there are a couple of things that you might be able to do right outside your doors that could reinforce your structures. If that is a possibility, when we have some level of calm, I have been hearing from persons in St. Elizabeth, in Manchester, who have indicated that they are getting quite some heavy rainfall and some strong winds, but there are usually some lulls, some periods of semi-calm that they can probably do something quickly on the outside and get back inside. So we would like to ask everyone to ensure that you keep yourself safe. Exercise extreme caution if you have to do anything immediately outside. But of course, as the system moves any closer, we will start to experience the eye wall of the system moving onshore, and then the eye will make its impact. And we do expect that that will occur by midday today. So during the latter part of this morning, after 11 o'clock, I would say let's not take any chances on the outside. Let's make sure that we are on the inside, so as this system makes its way here, we're not destroyed ourselves. Apart from the structures outside, we have to make sure that we save our own lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evan. We're going to now move to Minister Darrell Vaz, who is our Minister of Energy, Telecoms and Transportation.
Morning, Jamaica. Prayers up. Let's start with JPS, which I know is on everybody's mind. The electricity grid has already been impacted by hurricane conditions, which have caused several power outages across the island. Several generation units, critical high voltage substations, transmission and distribution lines across the island have been forced out of service by the hurricane force winds and lightning. As a result, approximately 240,000 or 35% of JPS customers are without power. That's out of a possible 700,000. Mainly in the parishes of St. Elizabeth, Manchester, St. James, and Hanover. The status, generation, there is adequate firm generation online to serve our customers. No renewables are available. As I said before, customers impacted, more than 75% of the customers in St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Hanover, and St. James are affected without electricity. The least impacted parishes, with less than 10% of customers impacted, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew, and St. Catherine. The majority of hospitals continue to be supplied with JPS power, except those in Manchester and St. Elizabeth, such as Black River, Mandeville, and Percy Junior Hospital. But I can confirm that they are operating on standby power, generator power. There is no plan at this point to shut down the grid. JPS crews continue to respond and restore critical facilities and customers where it is safe to do so. In the meantime, JPS is reminding customers to stay safe and take precautions to protect life and property. And most importantly, stay tuned to official channels of information, which include government and JPS, for further updates. As it relates to our telcos, I'll start with Digicel. 26% of mobile network is offline, predominantly due to the widespread loss of power. There's a further 209 sites running on generators and 9 on batteries. For our fiber to home customers, we are seeing 20% customers offline due to no power in their homes. As we see the most impacted areas, we will work with our crews to focus on those areas first. Even if commercial power is still to be restored, we will keep generators fueled and gas the sites back to keep them up and running. They are also confirming And also in aid in recovery, we are working with the SMA to increase our spectrum bandwidth channels, as we know from our experience from Hurricane Beryl that the mobile infrastructure will be recovered much quicker than the fixed. So just to indicate that I, this morning at 3 o'clock, signed licenses for additional spectrum for Flow, Liberty Caribbean, and I'm awaiting Digicel to give them the same. For Flow, I'm happy to say that Liberty Caribbean, operators of Flow, Jamaica, and Liberty Business is committed to playing its part for Jamaica to recover quickly from the inevitable damage following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Again, with the spectrum that they have received, they will be bringing a new innovation, mobile connectivity via satellite, and facilitates SMS and text messages to areas affected in the aftermath of the storm. So this partnership promises to seamlessly enable 4G LTE mobile customers to send texts to their family and friends, even when the local network services may be interrupted. So that's huge, very huge. And this collaboration with Starlink reflects a deep commitment to the Caribbean and protecting Jamaica. So we look forward for that. And we also look forward for Digicel to do the same, which will give us a lot more ability to communicate and to recover as quickly as possible. This one is the big important one now, and that is the airports. Based on my consultations with PACAL and the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority about the timeline for the Norman Manley International Airport to accommodate emergency relief flights after the passage of Hurricane Melissa, the assumption is that the system will leave Jamaica by the end of today, Tuesday, October 28th, and that the impact on the Norman Manley International Airport is not extensive. Both PACAL and JCA will use tomorrow, October 29th, to inspect and clean up the facility and restore the test equipment that have been decommissioned to accommodate flights. These emergency relief flights could therefore be accommodated as early as Thursday, October 30th, 2025. Again, we are not sure what's going to happen with Montego Bay, who will face at least a lower category, possibly category 3. So we aren't able to say anything on Sangster, but we know that it could have potential disabling impact for that airport. The good news is that the Ian Fleming International Airport is being considered as a part of contingency planning. So it means that we could get into Ian Fleming with certain types of aircrafts, and that will help us significantly based on the distance between Ian Fleming and Montego Bay. Petrojam, following another meeting this morning of the refinery, Petrojam is turning its attention to deepening participation in the broader national multi-agency response. Fuel security plays a key role, as we know, and Petrojam is assuring that all 3 international airports, in addition to all airdromes, are at 75 to 80% capacity for aviation fuel. This will enable aircraft movement to resume immediately. In addition, Petrojam has 2 to 3 weeks supply of aviation fuel at its Kingston and Montego Bay storage facilities. So in accordance with international standards, we will follow strict safe storage and rigorous testing prior to reopening. Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority, the microwave system is in general is operational, with the exception of the links between Winchester headquarters and Catherine Peak, which is currently offline. All remote sites are operating on generator power. So this means that we will be able to accommodate relief flights, which the requests are coming in fast and furious. And as I said before, we spoke about Airports Authority. Finally, I'll just give an update on JUTC. And that was up to 9 o'clock last night, reporting 361 persons that were taken to shelters in several parishes. All road operations for JUTC ceased last night, with the exception of transport assistance being provided to essential services staff, such as hospital workers. JUTC's emergency standby teams remain in place at all depots. We will have some kind of disruption to some of the buses, because those buses that use CNG will not be able to be fueled immediately due to the fact that the plant has been decommissioned. But let me close by saying, once again, that government, as you have heard and will hear from Minister Mackenzie, we are dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's to make sure that we facilitate all that is required for the response that is going to come in relation to the rebuilding phase after this catastrophic hurricane. So I want to just say to you, those of you who are still not taking it serious, you have but a few hours. And as I said before, based on what Evan said, the low-lying areas are going to be badly affected. Seek to go to higher ground and protect yourself and be smart. Again, commit to be here right through. And of course, if we work together, we will get through this once again. God bless Jamaica and keep safe.
Thank you very much, Minister Vaz. As you hear, we've not stopped working. He's not going to stop working to ensure that we have electricity and that we have telecom service. Right before this press briefing started, I heard him on the phone with JPS's head, and they were talking through how they were going to be making sure that we have electricity up in areas that aren't as badly affected, and then that we can recover even more quickly. He has not stopped working for us, and we have to obviously thank Starlink for that support that they're giving to our telecoms providers in Jamaica to ensure that even if our systems locally go down, that we will still be able to communicate internally and externally with the rest of the world. Also want to welcome the members of the media who are joining us from overseas. I know that the feed is going out also. We say good morning to you and good morning to all of your viewers out there too. Next up, we have Minister Desmond Mackenzie, who is not just our Minister of Local Government and Community Development. He is the one that's coordinating the entire disaster response, wearing his hat as the Deputy Chair of our National Disaster Risk Council. The chair is the Prime Minister, who is very much behind the scenes coordinating all of this and calling all of us for updates. And so this morning you will hear directly from Minister Mackenzie his updates on the entire disaster management framework.
Thank you, Minister Dixon. Again, let me commend you on the sterling job that you've been doing in presiding over these very important press briefing. Minister Vaz, Evan Thompson, my PS, Director General Acting, other support staff, and I want to acknowledge the team. The Jamaica Fire Brigade and the GADF was very active last night, responding to a number of calls to assist residents in sections of the corporate area. I want to, first of all, give an update on the state of shelters. Again, I want to repeat that all of the 800 and odd shelters are open. The numbers that I have presently speak to, of the 800 shelters, 382 shelters are occupied so far, with a total of persons within these shelters of almost 6,000 persons. Just to give you a rundown of the numbers in Kingston and St. Andrew, there are 45 shelters which are open with 581 persons. In Clarendon, 39 shelters with a accommodation of over 865 in Clarendon. Westmoreland, 33 shelters open with over 500 persons. St. Mary, 27 shelters with over 500 persons. St. Catherine, 27 shelters, 394 persons. Portmore, 8 shelters, 74 persons. St. Thomas, 18 shelters, 609 persons. Manchester, 23, 135. St. Anne, I see here 18 shelters open, but 0. There seems to be no one in any shelters in St. Anne. We'll check on those numbers. And over 19 shelters are open with over 261 persons. St. James, 30 shelters, 209 persons. Trelawney, 10 shelters, 313. Portland, 59 shelters, 541. St. Elizabeth, 26 shelters, 289. Now, St. Elizabeth is of concern because I am understanding that we are getting calls before we came on here of persons in St. Elizabeth asking for transportation to be sent into various communities to transport persons out of those areas. As Minister Vaz have said, it is going to be difficult. I have given instructions to the ADPEM director and to the team to advise the disaster coordinators and the members of parliament and the mayors wherever transportation is needed and they can get those transportation, they should do everything that is possible to provide the transportation to take the people out. But the system that we have had, as Minister Vaz said, those systems have been put on hold now because of the closeness of the system. So I would urge persons who can move to do so, and the mayors and the CEOs and the councillors and the members of parliament to do everything that is possible to assist those persons in moving. The impact of Melissa is being felt. Evan gave full details. We are having reports of widespread impact across several parishes which are seeing increased number of land slippage, flooding, fire, storm surge, and power outage. Roads in St. Thomas, Portland, and St. Catherine were blocked by fallen trees, poles, landslides, and most of these have been clear. And I want to make the point that the team that are on the road, the roving teams that have been pre-positioned, have been responding. Once the report is sent to the team, they are out there actually doing the work. So if you are in an area where there is blockage and fallen trees, you can send us the information, and once that is possible, we will send the team out. Minister Vaz, I see a report here, fire and GPS pole lines in certain sections. Storm surge affect Old Harbour Bay and other such communities. Caribbean Terrace is experiencing flooding, and I want to say that that is a community that I think we have to pay more attention to, because many years ago, when I was mayor, a section of Caribbean Terrace was devastated, and we are now seeing again, based on the information that is coming, and I'm going to ask the team to do some more checking to see the extent of what is taking place in Caribbean Terrace. We are experiencing, as I said before, land slippage in many communities in Portland, St. Thomas, St. Elizabeth, St. Thomas, and many other communities are experiencing those challenges as I speak at this time. This is the last briefing that we'll be able to give as update, but I will spend 2 minutes again. God has been merciful, because we've been talking about Melissa coming for almost a week. And still today, when we are expecting Melissa, there are still, as Evan have said, a small window of opportunity. Let us use it and use it wisely. Let us respond. I hope by within the next hour, when I get an update, I will see more persons in shelters and we will see more people responding. Jamaica, this is not the time to be brave. I've been saying for 1 week, don't bet against Melissa. It is a bet we can't win. I want to close because the reports is short and we want persons to go to do what they can do for themselves, their families. And I want to thank all of you who have left your homes and have been spending time here, camping out, members of the media. Last night I walked and I interacted with them before I went to bed in my little corner. And, you know, it was commendable to see the media and other support staff leaving their families and things. And this is a commitment that we are making for the betterment of Jamaica. Already we have started, as I said from yesterday, to look at how we're going to map our recovery. We have to start to look at that. We can't wait until Melissa has come to start to say how we are going to prepare ourselves for the recovery. We have started to do that in the meetings that we have been having. But I want to thank the team. And I know that Jamaicans are grateful. And we are all praying for the best outcome. So as I said before, whatever windows are available, I am asking those, especially in St. Elizabeth and those areas, who can move to do so at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Mackenzie. I just wanted to note, given that we have a lot of our members of the diaspora on, you've been asking a lot about how you can support Jamaica. Just noting that I'm very, very pleased this morning to announce the launch of our Support Jamaica website. It is supportjamaica.gov.jm. We've already been made aware of some nefarious individuals trying to collect money on behalf of Jamaica. We remind you that this will be the official site. If it doesn't have .gov.jm, it is not legitimate. It's not an official Government of Jamaica site. And so it will be supportjamaica.gov.jm, and it will be our online platform developed by the Government of Jamaica to mobilize support, to channel relief and coordinate recovery efforts in the wake of Hurricane Melissa. In it, you're going to have a donate now page where you can donate using your credit or debit cards, and you will also be able to give pledges. You also have all the information on ODPEM's bank accounts. If you want to do a bank transfer, you can do so there. A new innovation on that site is that you will be able to give updates on emergencies. So if there's an issue that you see in your area, you want to upload a picture, maybe there is flooding, maybe there is a town that has been cut off, you can actually notify us through that website also. It also has an interactive shelter locator for those who may need it. Even if you have to help someone to find a shelter, please use it. It will give you all the shelters that are near you. You can actually put in what parish you're in or what area you're in, and you can geolocate. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. All right. We had a quick power outage, but we are back up here. Just noting again that you can find shelters. They are on that site, supportjamaica.gov.jm. And so it is all about mobilizing resources. So it's a resource for those locally and also for those in the diaspora and anywhere in the world that wants to give support to Jamaica. Again, the website is supportjamaica.gov.jm, and it was created overnight, updated in basically a day. The developers spent a day working on it, and we want to thank them. And it was donated to us by Amber Group in consultation with other members of the team and other private sector partners. We are going to be opening up now for questions from the media. I know I already have one question that I need to treat with, which has to do with tourists. How many tourists are here on the island? The number I have from the Ministry of Tourism is 25,000. They issued a press release yesterday, and they noted that they are coordinating with all of the hotels. There's no need to worry. The Ministry of Tourism has its center that is in constant communication with all of the hotels, has been providing support, and so we are keeping those tourists as safe as we possibly can. And so I open up for questions. Zara, you're first.
Good morning, everybody. Zara Byrne, representing Reuters today. I would like to know, please, I realize that it is still early to talk about this, but I'm just curious if it is that, there could be any kind of comment about, search and rescue preparation. If there could be any kind of comment about if it is that you are in this hurricane and your shelter is compromised. Is there any advice on, I don't know if ODPIM can give any advice on safe rooms to go to, just any practical advice to residents who may be in this hurricane and in very perilous situations during and post?
Thank you for that question, and we're going to get you an answer.
Let me say that the Jamaica Defense Force and the Jamaica Constabulary Force are members of the National Disaster Committee, and they sit in the command center during the operation. So any request that comes in for search and rescue will be undertaken by the Jamaica Defense Force along with the Jamaica Fire Brigade, because they are a part of the national response team, and they are present, and we have equipments that are pre-positioned prior to the passage of Melissa that will be able to respond. So in a nutshell, yes, we are in a position to respond, and once the request comes in, the team will be ready to go. We have boats, helicopters, you name it. The government has equipped the Jamaica Defense Force, especially with a number of helicopters. The Jamaica Fire Brigade have a number of boats that can be used on land and can be used at sea for rescue operation and search operation.
Minister, I think there were some questions around tips, I think, between you and Mr. Thompson in terms of tips for persons. I know you're an expert in this area.
Thank you, Minister. Very difficult in terms of tips for Category 5, but nonetheless, I think one of the things that we have to do is to ensure that, as was said before, that we are doing most of the preparation going in. In terms of tips, we have always said that person should try as best as possible to bring a lot of stuff already inside. We don't want a lot of stuff that you have loose stuff outside, especially, Minister spoke it about construction sites. A lot of those things can be used as missile in the system, so you try to bring a lot of those in as best as possible, try to secure your animals. If you're inside, you stay in between walls that are not close to your outer walls in terms of your structures, because if your structure is not sound enough, those will go. A little bit better, I think, for persons who have multi-story facility. If your roof goes, you can go on the lower part of your building. Search and rescue component, the minister said it before. The teams are out there, but what we are saying in terms of tips as well, which was said before, and I will enforce it again, get into the shelters, because in terms of search and rescue, we can't do search and rescue in the heights of a system. Persons need to get away from the coastline, away from low-lying areas that are prone to flooding, and ensure that you are in safe, elevated areas to ensure that you are safe from all the dangers of coastal waters and riverine waters. And as best as possible, ensure that on the inside of your property, you are staying in between double walls. So if your outer wall goes, you're a little bit protected, and stay downstairs if you have a multi-story facility. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Thank you, Minister Mackenzie. I think we're going to go to Nationwide News now.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Mahiri Stewart, Nationwide News. Question for Minister Vaz. You oversee the energy, telecoms, and transport portfolio. Have you been receiving any reports of vandalism in any of those three sectors?
Thank God, nothing so far, and I hope it remains that way. Nothing so far.
All right, Television Jamaica.
Yes, Minister Vaz, Andrew Chisholm from TVJ. Quickly checking on the JUTC buses. I think you mentioned that the CNG plant has been decommissioned, so I'm thinking that 60 or so about of the 93 buses that came in operate on CNG. So do you have enough CNG in place to operate those buses for a while, or is it that they're totally out of use for now?
Yes. Prior to the hurricane and in preparation for the hurricane, one of the requirements was for additional storage to be on location in case deliveries are not able, because the deliveries are done by road. So we took that into consideration. So I'm hoping that the plant will be able to be recommissioned in short order, but there may be, depending on the level of damage, some disruption in terms of the full fleet, but we will have enough to do what we need to do.
Nationwide once again. Question to Evan Thompson. We know the effects that we're expecting in terms of the hurricane force winds and the tropical storm force winds on the outer side of Melissa, but in terms of the eye, because that's obviously going to pass through the country as well, what kind of conditions can persons expect during the eye of the hurricane? I know things are kind of calm now in certain areas. Are those persons within the eye supposed to expect similar conditions?
Thanks. That's a very good question, Mahiri. It's important for us to understand what happens when the eye is expected to move across your area. First of all, the eye itself is a calm area in the center of the storm. So as that moves over, it will appear as if it's all done. It will be a clearing. There will be very little cloud cover. There will be very little wind. And so it will feel as though the storm has passed. And it's a good feeling. And so a number of persons would want to take the opportunity to get some quick repairs done, especially since the eye extends a few miles actually in diameter. So, it would take a little while to pass over you, and you could have some time of break. But before the eye gets to you, you would have passed through one of the most intense parts of this hurricane. It means that you will experience wind speeds that are approaching 300 kilometers per hour. This is round about 185 miles per hour. That's what the system is packing as a Category 5 hurricane. And much of that will be within the eye wall. In that eye wall, which is that area that surrounds the eye, you will have that most intense wind speeds, but also the most torrential downpours of rainfall. So that area will pass from the coast right across as the eye moves of course, that is the protective area for the eye that moves along with it, all the way from the southwest of Jamaica to the north central part of the island. So you will experience those intense conditions before the calm, and then after that calm, you experience it once again, unfortunately, and the winds will be from the opposite direction. So if it was coming to you from the east, it will now come to you from the west after the eye. If it was from the north, it will come from the south after the eye passes. It's always from the opposite direction after the eye passes, and you have to prepare yourself for that.
All right, so my question has to do with lightning strikes, because in one of the models that you showed us, I believe it was yesterday, we saw quite a few areas of thunderstorms. So I'm not certain what you can tell Jamaica now in terms of preparing or protecting ourselves from the possibility of being struck by lightning. And what do we look out for ahead of it? What are the signs?
Yes, lightning frequently occurs during the thunderstorms. Of course, it does occur during thunderstorms. And thunderstorms will be part of that intense area of the shower activity. We don't expect anyone to be outside, really. So that should, of course, protect you from the lightning strikes to a large extent. Of course, there will be some impact. It will affect electricity supply. It could also be the cause of fires. And so it's important that that is also monitored. I'm sure the fire brigade is alert to that, that there could be fires that are generated because of the lightning strike. So that is one of those hazards that actually accompanies hurricanes as well. We don't talk much about tornadoes either, but actually we do have small tornadoes that develop in hurricanes, and that is something that people need to also be aware of. Whenever hurricanes move over, generally you have those smaller scale cyclonic events that are tornadic. Well, tornadoes develop within these systems, and that could also be a source of danger for residents as the system passes over. They don't last very long for our area, but they are a real possibility. Not just a possibility, they actually occur and have occurred in Jamaica in the past.
Possible for particular parishes more so than others, considering where this system is projected to travel?
I believe in most cases when you have those events, it would be in the lower lands, in the flatter lands, and not so much in the hilly terrain. However, we should be prepared. I mean, in the larger scale of things, we're dealing with a hurricane with huge winds, massive winds, but at the same time, you could have the resultant effect of additional with the smaller scale events taking place within it.
Thank you.
Another quick question to Mr. Mackenzie. You were clear, Mr. Thompson. Thank you. Very quickly, Minister, you mentioned that the JDF and JCF were responding to causing the corporate area. Just trying to get some details on that. Is it that persons were now evacuating or any flooding or anything?
No, not anything major. Just assistance that was required of them, and they have responded as they would normally do. Because remember now, the command center carries every critical area of government that forms a part of our disaster response mechanism. So once the information is fed into the command center, we will go out to see what is required in terms of why a request was made. And that was why the team was out. And we have roving teams on the road that is driving around. So when they pick up any thing on the road, they will act, and they will call in and give central the information, and we will log those information, because we use the information after to see what took place and how best to address and to see how we can prevent. Yes.
And question from Nationwide: Have you been updated in terms of the readiness and the preparation for places such as prisons, children's homes, and homes for old persons?
Well, as I said before, the security forces sit on the national committee. So everything security-wise, and we don't discuss the security aspects of the prisons and the operations of the police and the military, because that is confined, and you know why that has to be confined. The Ministry of Labor and Social Security We work with all the ministries are involved. So children homes and the infirmaries and everything is taken care of in the general scheme of things and planning. And inspections are done to these facilities to ensure that they are up to standard.
Ask you one more question. Could you just comment on why it is that at first we were facing a multi-day event and now you're saying by this evening it will go? Could you just at least address that little thing?
All right, we're going to have to, this has to be the last question because we do have to get the teams who need to get home safely. And so this is the last question. And I think you had answered it, Evan, before, but come.
Yes, this event has been multiple days that we've been experiencing it. This passing of the passage of the eye across the island will not be a full day. However, the entire event, we've been experiencing this for over a week, and this is part of the system that has been impacting us. It has been for a few days already and will continue for another few days, because after the eye passes, we will have another maybe 2 days before we actually see a clearing. Right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we are at the end of this press conference, just reminding everyone that if you want to support, we have international media that's streaming this live. If you want to support Jamaica, please go to supportjamaica.gov.jm. We're already receiving reports of flooding in St. Elizabeth. So all of you who are on the path that Evan has given us, please make sure you are getting to safety. It is becoming late to get to safety. The entire country is going to be affected. But as we said yesterday, we know we will get through this. Evan has said that this cloud and this wind and this rain will last for a couple days. But after that, we will rise again as a resilient Jamaican people. And so as we leave today, we continue to pray for this beautiful country. Pray for those who are in the path of Hurricane Melissa, that God will guide them and God will keep them safe. Thank you all, and God bless Jamaica, land we love.